we have you're present? Yes, sir. Thank you. And Mr. Kevin Brown? All right. Anybody else? I have Brad Hatfield? Yes, sir. Brad Hatfield. Thank you. All right. Before we get started, a few general guidelines. I will ask the room to silence all mobile devices at this time. I will ask everyone who wishes to speak today to come forward to the lectern when called. Each side will be given 15 minutes to make their case. Each side will be given 5 minutes rebuttal. Exhibits will be delivered to council as they are presented. Anyone who has a conflict at this time about this property in question, now is the time for disclosure. Okay, seeing none. Council, before you have a copy of the agenda. The purpose for the meeting today, we have one item that we'll be presenting today to discuss and render a decision on the special use permit for 800 Pineborough Avenue, Southeast Valdez, North Carolina, multifamily development in the B2 zoning district under consideration. We will be entertaining evidence in this matter and other information that may come before this council. I now declare this quasi-judicial hearing open. All parties and individuals wishing to speak come forward so the town clerk can administer the oath.
Mayor, you may want, 1 second. I want to just clarify that anybody just kind of reiterate, anybody that wants to speak, now's the time to get sworn in.
Okay, and that goes to anybody in the audience as well that wishes to speak.
So this is a call generally, if you're going to speak for or against the special use permit today, you'll come forward and we're going to swear everyone in at one time, and then everybody's going to have a seat, and then we'll take turns.
Just raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Daniel Odom, will you please come forward and present the evidence regarding the special use permit?
Good afternoon. I would like to begin by certifying that this public hearing has been duly advertised and noticed in accordance with NC General Statute 160D-406B, Section 9-3144, and Section 9-3147 of the Town of Valdez zoning ordinance, which require that a notice of public hearing be submitted to the property owner, applicant, and all adjacent property owners no more than 25 days and no less than 10 days prior to the date of the hearing, and requires that a notice be prominently posted to the subject property within that same time frame, and requires that a notice of public hearing be run in the newspaper of general circulation for 2 consecutive weeks, no less than 10 days, and no more than 25 days prior to the date of the hearing. I would like to submit to the record the affidavit of service certifying the mailed notice, posting of the property, and legal ad ran in compliance with NC General Statute 160D-406B and Sections 9-3147 and 9-3144 of the Town of Valdez zoning ordinance.
Okay. Council, unless you have objections, we'll enter the exhibit.
Madam Clerk, are you going to identify that by letter or number? Number 1? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I would also like to submit the staff report, including the following attachments to the record. Those attachments being Attachment A, the complete application, Attachment B, the site plan, Attachment C, the zoning map, Attachment D, the future land use map, Attachment E, NCDOT level of service manual, and Attachment F, probe data traffic analysis, and ITE trip generation rates to the record.
Does anyone have an objection? If none, we'll enter that.
So just for the record, we're marking staff exhibit, or the staff report as Exhibit 2.
Too.
Thank you.
The subject of this hearing is the special use permit application submitted by Kevin Brown of East McDowell Street Properties. On June 24th, 2024, the applicant requested a special use permit to allow multifamily development in the B2 zoning district. Within the B2 zoning district, multifamily development is allowed by issuance of a special use permit. Special use permits require a quasi-judicial hearing that rely on findings of fact to determine whether the proposal meets the standards set forth in the Town of Valdez zoning ordinance, Section 9-3147. These findings of fact can come only from sworn testimony or submitted evidence. A written copy of the board's decision shall be made available for the record and distributed to parties who request it. The town council's responsibility in this hearing is to determine if the following findings have been met. In order to approve, the council must find the application to be complete. The hearing has been conducted following the procedures set forth in Section 9-3144. The development will not adversely affect the health or safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use and will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property or public improvements in the neighborhood. Upon testimony, cross-examination, and deliberation, the council should decide as to whether the application meets all three findings listed above. Upon a motion, all findings will have been met to approve the application. Should all findings not be satisfied, then council can render a decision of denial. The subject tract at 800 Pineborough Avenue Southeast is 14.91 acres of currently vacant and undeveloped property zoned B2 business. See attachment C and D in the staff report for visuals. Land use to the south and west is primarily residential. Land use to the north and east is zoned for residential and manufacturing. The proposed development of 20 multifamily units is illustrated in attachment B, site plan, and meets the following geometric requirements as set forth by the Town of Valdez zoning ordinance. There is no minimum lot size in the B2 district, so the 14.91 acre lot is compliant. Roadway frontage requirements of 35 feet are met as presented. The proposed lot coverage is 4.72%, satisfying lot coverage restrictions. The multifamily development as proposed meets 10-foot side and rear setbacks and 40-foot front setback requirements. All units proposed are 38 feet in height, satisfying the maximum building height of 50 feet. The proposed multifamily development proposes 2 10 by 20 feet parking spaces per unit, exceeding the parking requirement of 1.5 spaces per unit. The project is accessed via Pineborough Avenue Southeast. Pineborough Avenue is a 2-lane local roadway with approximately 10-foot travel lanes and a posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour. The maximum vehicular capacity of Pineborough Avenue is 9,300 vehicles per day. 2023 traffic data sourced from probe data shows an average current volume of 505 to 531 vehicles per day. See attachment E, NCDOT level of service manual, and attachment F, Placer AI vehicle traffic analysis for that source material. The Institute of Transportation Engineers trip generation manual estimates the number of trips generated by each unit in a low-rise multifamily building to be 7.52 trips per day. Based on the number of proposed units, which is 20, and the ITE trip generation rate of 7.52, the estimated additional vehicles per day generated by the development is 150.4, keeping the proposed development well below the 9,300 vehicle per day capacity of Pineborough Avenue Southeast. This concludes the staff report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Council, do you have any questions? Does the applicant have any questions of Mr. Oden?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, all right, yeah, sorry. Opposition, did you have any questions, comments for the? Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thank you. You're up next, Ms. Ferguson. Yes, sir. State your name, please.
Russell Ferguson, here representing the petitioner and applicant, East McDowell Street Properties LLC. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the time to present. And if it's without objection, I'd like to open up a PowerPoint presentation to help with some visuals.
Please do.
Oh, mouse. Thank you. So, in order of a little bit of housekeeping, if it's without objection, I'd like to submit for the record a printout of this presentation and larger and easier to see. And I wish I could say it's totally easy to see, but the site plan, I had previously marked them, Mr. Swanson, with petitioner's exhibit 1 for the site plan and petitioner number 2 for the presentation. And if y'all want to hold open to many to the record for later, that's fine as well, but I figured it would be useful for the presentation.
Yeah, what we can do is we can actually identify those in two ways. We can actually renumber them 3 or 4, or we can name them applicant exhibits 1 and 2. Do you have a preference?
Let's go with 3 and 4.
Okay,
Okay.
3 and 4.
All right,
Sorry, Jessica.
does anyone have any objections to that? All right, 3 and 4 it will be, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it'll be illustrative to the meeting and get everybody a chance to see site plan. And so just to begin with the presentation here,
Just one moment, Mr. Ferguson, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Are we identifying which one's 3 and which one's 4?
The site plan will be 3,
Okay,
and the PowerPoint will be 4.
thank you.
so just to clean up, let's submit as number 3 the site plan and number 4 the presentation materials. Good, thank you. So I do believe the town presented the standards and the facts correctly in this, and we appreciate them doing that. We, as noted, don't have any objection to it and agree with their conclusions. And I want to mention, I'm here with Brad Hatfield and Kevin Brown, who are principals of the applicant, and they are here to answer technical questions and have been sworn in as well, if something that I cannot answer. Thing on the big picture of this, because the standard kind of talks about not being detrimental and what it's not, I just kind of want to reset that a little bit to say that this special use permit is all about limiting the scope of development for this large parcel in a way that makes sense, will provide benefit to the community without unduly opening up a sort of Pandora's box of the other 14 acres of this parcel. So it's unique in that this large parcel is we're only requesting the special use permit for a very small portion of it. So it's about 0.7 acres out of a total of nearly 15 acres. So there's 14 acres remaining undisturbed, and that is why that site plan has a lot of blank space. So, with that, keeping that focus on what it will do, what the benefits will be, and not what it will not do, which is technically the legal standard, and I think we'll have met that standard. I hope that the presentation makes that clear. I get oriented just so everybody knows where it's at, just a little big picture stuff. Kind of overview of the city. We're just south of the railway easement. The lot is marked in yellow on the right, and you can see the size and uniqueness of this lot. Running through this lot is an electric easement. It also abuts a railroad easement in the rear, goes behind some homes, and has significant elevation if you look from the left to right, declining. This mouse. And go on to the official adopted land use policy of the town. As you can see, mostly see there, the little green circle is something that I added to draw attention to where this site is located on the map. It's under yellow for residential uses. We are proposing residential uses, 20 townhomes, or up to 20 townhomes as a residential use. I mentioned this is a little zoomed in to see the site plan a little better if you see it on the screen and in your presentation materials. As you note, the development is only proposed for the left-hand corner. This site also, it may be a little small to see on the site plan I printed for you, but there are special use development notes. There are 6 restrictions on this site that's totally within the council's power to limit any special use permit per 160D. And this limitation will limit it up to the maximum of 20 units. It includes the width of the driveway and the parking spaces, as was mentioned by the town representative. All units are limited to 36 feet in height. The lot coverage is limited to 4.72% of the 14.9 acre lot, which we've discussed generally. There's also a note on number 5 about limiting to the land disturbance to approximately 0.7 acres of land disturbance, and the additional portions of the lot will remain undisturbed during development. And then there's a clarifying statement on number 6, which I think is probably redundant, but it is sort of a belt and suspenders approach to make sure that it's very clear that this lot would only develop the area, the small areas with the boxes on there representing the housing units. So what we have in summary here is a multifamily development with 20 attached townhome units that will be for rent at market rates. It's a normal project. It's going to add valuable housing supply to the Valdez market, and I have a few slides on that as well. Yeah, I actually have a marker here. It's going to have a positive impact. We'll get into a little study here, but there is almost across all of America, and certainly here in Burke County, a reduced amount of housing supply for the need. And that's something that's only going to grow as North Carolina continues to grow, as Burke County continues to grow. Look here, and so this is just a few excerpts from the State of North Carolina 2024 Housing Gap Analysis by Bowen National Research. I just want to highlight this. It's getting a little bit in the weeds here, but when we talk about what community benefits are and what land use policies are and what a governing board is regulating in these things, it's always important to look a little bit at the big picture. Burke County has a 4.6% vacancy rate, which is on the low end for a healthy market, for a healthy capitalist market for housing. That was in the State of North Carolina funded Bowen National Research Analysis. It's quite significant. It's utilized by planning departments across the state. And one of the things I thought was indicative in here is that they looked forward after doing as much analysis as they could and looked at 2024 through 2029 to see what the gap would be. And that number they came to for Burke County was 1,499 units short of what would be a healthy market. It used to be a geeky thing to talk about, residential supply over the last 5 years because of what everybody's been through. It's really brought in some personal knowledge for everybody about what a suppressed market looked like, what inflation of housing costs can be, and how impactful they can be on a community. So in the big picture, we think this is one small piece towards the right direction in creating market rate housing for residents of this city and county. Wanted to end with the special use standard that was already mentioned by the town here. And I've added some highlights here in general that this petition will not adversely affect the health, safety of persons residing or working in the neighborhood of the proposed use, and it will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to property or public improvements in the neighborhood. And just to expand upon that a little bit, this is a relatively normal multifamily development being proposed on a very small portion of a large, unique lot. But it is going to approach the street. It's going to be street front. It's going to be the type of building that has been seen. This is not out of the ordinary for residential development. What is unique here is that because of the business designation of this lot, the land use policy of Valdez for residential here, and the size and uniqueness of this lot, that this was determined to be the best and least impactful way to move forward. So I just wanted to kind of highlight, doing this special use permit, the remaining 14 acres, before they go through anything that's outside of what the code provides, they will be coming back to this board or your predecessors later on to discuss it, to look at it, whether it's through a rezoning or whether it's through another special use permit. The UDO that you guys have adopted recently will apply, the building codes will apply, and the additional restrictions put on this on the site plan will apply to it to limit it to exactly what's been proposed. And we think it's a benefit to the community to add those housing. And we are here with petitioners' representatives, happy to take your questions and into discussion, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Council, any questions?
Mayor, if I may.
Yeah, please.
Mr. Ferguson, I just want to make sure I understand correctly. So you are agreeing as the applicant to place restrictions on the special use, and those restrictions being that it'll only be 20 units, I think you said?
Yes.
Maximum of 20 units. Height, a maximum of 38 feet?
Yes.
Is that correct?
Or
And-
30.
That's okay. I'm looking at the
36.
PowerPoint. Is it 36?
We're agreeing to everything written on exhibit number 3 in the development notes, and I can pull that up for a bigger.
Yeah, I may be able to read that. My eyes aren't that great.
30,
Sorry, it's my fault. Yes, 38 feet.
38.
38 feet, okay. And then the final was, the area developed, I guess, is 0.7 acres of that total property. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. At this time, anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come forward.
And my name is Jean Marie Cole, and I reside at 705 Berta Street and have been a resident of Valdez for a little over 30 years.
Jean, are you speaking for or against?
Against.
Okay.
Is that okay? Oh, I
Madam-
didn't know I had to tell you that too.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, if you can just allocate this time to the against.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. This property was bought by the town as a site for public safety buildings, but no longer do they want to use it for that purpose. The town could recoup the money put into this back into the fund to build the facility by selling the properties. Leaving out current zoning maps, it sits in the middle of a neighborhood of single-family houses. This development comes to us with a proposal to buy the land if he can build a row of 20 adjoining apartments along the one side. Given the size of the remaining land, he will undoubtedly come back to do a similar type design on the remaining pieces of land, be it one chunk at a time. The developer comes from the huge city of Charlotte, and this type of development is very common there. But this is small-town Valdez with a very much more rural design and a wonderful heritage that we would like to preserve. In the long run, we end up with another very large apartment complex among the individual homes that met the American dream of a home of our own. I do have a couple reservations, and one has to do with the parking. I realize the driveway is 10 feet wide, and I forget how many feet long, but will accommodate at least 2 cars, one behind the other. If you ever lived that way, guys, it doesn't work. Mom and dad both work, or they get a kid. Okay, and there is no provision for any guests to come, which means they're going to park along the street. So that was one of my concerns. My other concern is the bottom line official look at what is called the town tax base. Is this really what they say they want to do, or does it just bring another project from the tax assessments that won't be paid for years, and whatever other compromises are made to get the funding to build this? Does it even help our local residents, like our young teachers and our firemen and our young policemen, to find a place to live that they can afford? Or are they again going to be making too much money to live here?
Excuse me, Jean Marie, can you stipulate some evidence here?
I'm sorry?
Can you stipulate some evidence what you're providing right now?
Okay, I did not know I had to bring evidence. Okay. All right, the Middletown Housing in the center of Valdez has a 10-year, I don't know when the 10-year period starts, they haven't even finished doing it, 10-year point in which they pay no taxes. Okay, that was one of the ones that I knew about, okay? And that was the reason for that comment. What else would you like? The design plan shows the driveways. They are 10 feet wide, and I do not know the length. I can't remember it. But they are 10 feet wide, so I know that you could park 2 cars, one behind the other, for the people who live there. But that's a constant juggle. And then, I don't know, they move in with a kid. That's just a fact of life if you've ever lived. I have. And if you've ever had to juggle your cars, because Dad got home first, but Mom has to, but Mom gets home late, and then Dad has to go out first in the morning, so now we've got to juggle our cars. That type of thing, that was what I was talking about.
Okay.
Okay? Is there any other one you wanted? The comment about, will our teachers and public safety officers make too much money? That came again about with comments for the housing right down in downtown Valdez, which was billed or presented that this would solve our problems to house our young people who come here, and they are teachers and workers like that. And then when the figures came out in the end, oh, they make too much money, they can't live there. That was said at a council meeting. Can't give you the council meeting, but that was said at a council meeting. Gee, I think that's probably the only thing that I could give you to back it, because I did not know. I had to bring it in writing from somebody, but that's where it came from.
Okay.
And that,
Your time has expired. Thank you.
okay, all right. The town could,
Ma'am, your time has expired. Thank
oh,
you.
I'm sorry, okay.
Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Steve Divitter. I own property at 513 Pineborough Avenue Southeast in Valdez. I'd like to start off by giving you a little bit of information so you can understand why I have qualifications to testify. Not only owning the property, have tremendous knowledge about the property and this entire neighborhood and the history. Probably there's only one other person in here that has close to that knowledge, and that's Councilman Ogle. We played, we explored, we've been all over this property time and time again. And I can tell you that what is being proposed does not fit in with the neighborhood. To give you an idea, please understand that 7/10 of an acre is the size of the property that my current house is on. That could mean up to 60 individuals living in a space where we have one house. Keep that in mind as you go through this. The other thing I'd like to address is based upon the evidence presented, and if it's changed, somebody will have to inform me. But based upon this special use permit is contingent upon approval of the special use permit is contingent to sell the property. To me, that is a conflict of interest. Not only is it a conflict, it is something that I don't think you're doing justice to the citizens of Valdez. You have a conflict, you have a responsibility. Not individual, but you are serving as judge and jury to make a decision, okay? I know your attorney's getting ready to make a comment about this, but we'll go on, okay? You want facts?
No, if you can give me 1 second.
Then my time needs to stop.
Yeah,
Yes,
we can
stop
spend
time,
this
please.
Sir, I'm sorry, what did you say your name was? I didn't catch it.
Steve Demeter.
Demeter, Mr. Demeter. If you are making an objection based on conflict, we need to address that. Are you making an objection?
I'm making that objection along with some others.
Okay, so the mayor will obviously rule on the objection, and so your objection, as I understand it, is based on a condition in the contract that
Yes.
essentially the sale will only go through if the special use is granted?
Correct.
Okay, so just for edification, that contract was amended and that condition was removed prior to this hearing. Do you have any other basis for the objection?
No, but I wish it would have been made available earlier. This whole process is as if you're keeping information secret. The information that was presented here would have been great for the citizens to have.
Sir, do you have any other objection?
Not
besides that?
objections if you've addressed that issue.
Okay, so did you receive a copy of the contract? I think you may have called earlier
Yeah,
today.
about the time I walked in, and I could not have a chance to review it and discuss it with my attorney.
Okay, I just want to make sure, but you did receive a copy?
Yeah, when I walked in here.
Okay, we have an objection, and you've heard the nature of the objection, so you'll need to rule on the objection, and once we do, then he can continue, and we'll start his time back. Yes.
Your objection is overruled.
Okay. Fact. Traffic analysis. Do not agree or disagree with the traffic analysis information that was submitted. It is evident that that analysis was not done by someone driving that road. They have not seen other safety factors because I'm addressing issues that the special use permit requires. Will not adversely affect the health, safety of persons residing and working in the neighborhood. If you've driven that road, which all of you have, and I dare say that each of you have done this because of the poor construction of that curve at Henry Street, and Mr. Ogle can attest to that, because I was with him when an incident occurred. That curve has a tendency for individuals to drift towards the inside lane when you're heading west. You all have traveled on that road. You all have drifted to the inside. With increased traffic, that safety hazard needs to be addressed, and it needs to be considered before you grant the special use permit. I think that's extremely important. The other factor you need to consider is the safety of individuals in that area, pedestrian traffic. The traffic is bad as it is, although there's 500 cars. I'd like to see the 9,000 on that road one day. But as bad as it is, there is no safe place for individuals to walk. There needs to be the sidewalk extended from the Pine Bar Mill property down beyond this proposed special use permit to afford the safety of the citizens to walk that roadway. Because now there'll be no place to walk. Currently, there's a fence there and you can't walk. Certainly, there needs to be something else so citizens will have the opportunity to do this. The next thing you need to consider is a site plan. Imagine 20 driveways within a 200-foot or so distance. 20 driveways. There needs to be additional parking for guests, as the lady addressed, because individuals cannot have guests, more than one guest car parked in their driveway. The parking of those will be across the street because there will be no place in front of their apartments with 20 driveways for them to park. The other thing you need to consider is once the parking is across the street, consider complaints from neighbors and individuals. So you'll soon be doing a no parking restriction on Pine Bar Avenue, just to be aware of that. I think the developers could, and you could require them to provide and install adequate parking spaces for the residents and guests so that there will not be 20 driveway entrances. There will be one. There'll be ample space for visitors to park, cars to turn around, and there should be landscaping on this instead of the property fronting directly on Pine Bar Avenue. Valdez is famous for the downtown area and the landscaping that has been done. This needs to come out into the neighborhoods. When I was reviewing the information, another fact, there is no information in this regarding the water supply or pressure in the notice. Pine Bar Mill during its heyday used less water than the proposed apartments or condos that will be developed in that facility when it's fully occupied. Pine Bar Mill was not a dye house. Pine Bar Mill only used water for restrooms, and Mr. Ogle can attest to this. There are very few in that facility. Water fountains, washing hands, and that's it. No fancy coolers at that time.
Sir, your time has expired. Thank you.
I thought we had 15 minutes pro and con.
We do. Where are we on time? We do.
Yeah, we are. That's
Okay?
number 5.
Okay? All right. So those 20 households are going to continue to use. Why should the current Pine Bar neighborhood suffer for loss of water pressure, so forth, because of poor planning for this development? Special use permit is for the proposed area only. Consider this a slippery slope. Like the Campbell-Gein nose under the tent, once a special use permit is granted, guess what? They'll come back and back and back. I do believe that it is imperative that there be a complete plan that you can view and approve before starting piecemeal zoning. Piecemeal zoning will not lead to any type of contiguous improvement for that property. It'll only be piecemeal, as the word implies. Also, I want you to consider this. This property has a better use. I think the individuals, previous councils, put you in this situation. It's a bad situation. As the lady said, the citizens in that neighborhood would prefer to have the fire department there, which is no longer, rather than have this development. It is not fitting within the neighborhood. Habitat for Humanity homes, individual residential homes, homes built by local school construction. We all know by viewing and seeing that individuals who have home ownership have a greater tendency to take care of their property than those that rent property. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, and I believe that I've presented enough facts to you that would raise what I call reasonable doubt in your mind about approving this special use permit. I believe if you go forward in doing this, then you're sending a message to the citizens of Valdez that, number one, you waste your time when you're trying to talk about improvements to your area versus the money that can be gained from selling property. I ask that you consider all the facts, deny the special use permit, and I do thank you for your time.
Before you leave, does the applicant, Mr. Ferguson, Mr. Brown, do you have any rebuttal comments, questions?
This will be your opportunity to cross-examine
Yes.
the witness if you like. Okay, and same, we neglected to ask if you had any questions of, I think it was Jean Marie. No questions there either. Thank you.
Nothing else? Thank you for your time.
How much time do we have left?
For against, how much time is
For
left for
against.
the allocation?
Total of 12 minutes, 48 seconds.
Remaining?
That's what we used.
Oh, that's what we've used, okay.
Mr. Chair, I failed to ask to have this meeting in
Just ask for objection.
Yes, any objections?
Mr. Ferguson may want to review it
Yes,
before he
absolutely.
has a chance to object or not object.
Yeah, you'll get it like we get it first. Thank you, sir.
If you wouldn't mind, I would say we wouldn't object it going in, we'd just sort of put forth the qualification that it only be considered for the factual components of it.
Okay.
As they're true, it's quite long, so.
Is it Mr. Demeter? Am I saying that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how do we characterize that document as exhibit? What,
Opposition and suggestions to improve the safety.
okay, so we'll just call that Exhibit 5 and just put Mr. Demeter's opposition.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak against? Okay, rebuttal? Yep, do we have
There's
somebody?
someone.
Ma'am? Did you get sworn in?
No, I did not.
Please step forward.
Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Debbie Sigmund. I live directly across from the property under consideration. And my biggest question,
You have about 3 minutes.
okay, biggest question, biggest fear is theft. How are you going to ensure the neighborhood that the increase in theft is not going to happen? My house individually has been hit 5 times. My property, my Jeep in my driveway, property was stolen out of it. My whole house was hit. The building, they got everything out of the building. I can go on and on and on. I am very concerned with the number of traffic, the individuals who are becoming to visit the residents of these townhomes or whatever they are, you know, we already have enough traffic on the road, enough people walking by. I even put a garden flag out that was stolen. Just somebody walking by took it. So I need to know how you're going to ensure the safety of the personal property of the residents directly around those townhomes. And I'm also concerned about the height, the 38-foot height, the privacy. As people are looking out their top window, are they going to be seeing over my fence? So that's a concern I'd like for you to consider.
Ma'am,
Thank
do
you.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor and Council, Russell Ferguson again for the applicant. 5 minutes?
Yeah, Madam Clerk, if you'll restart it for 5 minutes, this is the
5 minutes,
rebuttal
yes.
period.
I think I would start off by saying that residents' concerns are always valid. I don't, like, you know, there's a lot that was said there that has validity to it, and I'm not up here to try to challenge it. I do want to make a few points about things. A lot of it was just outside the scope of what a developer can control and do, and what is going to be controlled in this portion of the lot. Concerns of safety, road safety, you know, theft safety. You know, those things are kind of outside the scope of this. What we're proposing is to build up to 20 units. One thing that's commonly, you know, kind of counterintuitive, but is that eyes and presence and residents, these trips aren't just random interlocutors coming through. These are going to be people that live there. So you're talking about, you know, up to 20 houses where people that live there. These are drivers that live on the street as well. These are folks that will not want to have their property stolen. Folks that might be able to keep an eye on people walking down the street. You know, some of the concerns regarding the size of the units and the height, and then this is sort of, it is a market rate project. This is not the first townhome project type setup, and it's come to this because it is more efficient. It allows to get the price in the market so that folks that can't afford to buy homes, because there are certainly more than ever before, can rent a home. And this does include, you know, wasn't my point to go there because it was brought up in opposition. This does include teachers and other municipal employees and folks that may not have enough income to be able to put down a deposit and to pay a mortgage right now, especially as there's housing scarcity. So adding the units is a supply and demand equation. It brings housing units to the area. It provides an opportunity, and it reduces price in its own little teeny way. That said, to build it, building costs are very high as well. So the efficiencies that come with the setup, shared walls provide efficiencies for utilities. They provide efficiencies for construction as well. And that ultimately, the cost of land acquisition plus the cost of development leads to what the rental rates are in a for-market project. So there's components of it, you know, it's not new to this area or to this project. I think, but I do think it's important to talk about, you know, the folks that the additional traffic will be neighborhood traffic. We're not adding a commercial use. And the adjacent property is a warehouse. And it's an unused warehouse, and there's 14 acres of vacancy, almost 15 acres of vacant property right now. As to the concerns about what it would be like to rent in this property, yes, it'll be a compact area of residential units, but they'll have 14 acres next to them. I grew up next to half an undeveloped neighborhood, and we had tons of, you know, there is a lot of nature right there, and it's actually going to be quite nice if there are children there playing, in my opinion. Another point to point out with regard to the height, 38.
Mr. Ferguson, sorry. Mr. Sharp, can you pull that door? Thank you.
You know, with regard to 38 feet, it's fairly standard to have 40 feet as a residential cap, but you know, once you take the scale of that, we're talking about 40-foot long driveways. That is 2 parking spaces by code, so I can only say that is 2 parking spaces. Those parking spaces reach 20 feet long. It's a 40-foot deep driveway. Depending on if you have 2 F-150s, maybe that is 2 spaces, right? If you have 3 sedans, you know, if you have sedans, you might have room for 3 or more. And with regard to privacy concerns, once you scale out, you start to take that 40 feet back plus the width of the road and do your site triangles and take it back. I have a middle school daughter. You start doing that geometry and start doing that triangle, you realize that it's not the concern of like a high-rise building looming over anyone. With that amount of setback at that distance, you're not going to change sight lines significantly between a second or third floor. Yeah, so I just take it back. I do think we've presented evidence and facts to show that this wouldn't be detrimental to the community, that it would actually be beneficial to the community. There's one more thing. In terms of doing this and limiting the scope and reducing the amount of construction and changes here by putting it into the smaller section of this property, it's not an intent to go on some piecemeal property. It truly is a moment, and I believe this is something I've learned a little more tonight about, that, trying to understand what is best for this property. It's not always an easy solution to figure those things out. You don't always know. I mean, none of us know what's happening tomorrow or 10 years from now or 20 years from now. By taking it one step at a time is a different way to say that. And we think of this as one step at a time. This is one small parcel. It doesn't create precedence or anything else for the rest of the parcel, which would come before this board again. But at this point, it is not known what the rest of it will be. Some of this area will not be developable because of the elevation and the slopes. And so, this is an appropriate step. It fits in here. The amount of traffic impact is way under what is possible. And the result of it will be 20 additional market rate, or up to 20 additional market rate units for the town of Valdez that'll be rental and at market rate. And I think that's something that, from our outreach here, as we've heard, is in dire need. I want to thank you again for your time. We're here again. I have the petitioner representatives if you have any more questions in your discussions, and we'll happy to answer them. Thank you.
Does council have any questions at this time?
If I may ask a question,
Yes, sir.
and I look at this special use permit development notes that I'm looking at, where will the driveways dump into? Will they dump into Pine Bur, or will they dump into the other side of Pine Bur? They will come into
They
Pine
will come
Bur?
directly out to Pine Bur.
Yeah, if he's gonna speak, we just need to get him sworn, he's already sworn in, so he can come to the podium if you'd like with you.
Kevin,
Yes.
I can answer that one. I
Okay.
actually know. Pine Bur Avenue Southeast into the public right away. Sorry.
So just to kind of piggyback on that, so you're gonna have cars essentially out of these driveways backing into Pine Bur presumably. They'll pull in when they get there and back into Pine Bur when they come out?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there an alternative design to where there could be a buffer area to where you don't have that issue?
So we did put a lot of thought into this plan. There is a large topographical challenge to this property. So I know a lot of you have walked the property before in the past, but as you know, there's probably 30, 40-foot drop off to the back of the property. So there's no real economical way or realistic way to come up that slope in the back. So economically, it only makes sense to address it from the Pine Bur side of the property.
And I'm not familiar with the topography, so forgive me for that. So basically, it's slanting down towards Pine Bur?
No, away from Pine Bur.
Away from Pine
The rear
Bur.
of the property goes down to a utility easement. There's
Okay.
the large high-tension power lines, and then there's also the railroad at the back of the property. So it falls 30 feet minimum to the back, so there's no real way to address it from the rear of the property.
So, but from a safety perspective, I could see how backing cars would be concerning on the Pine Bur. Is there a way to push it back a little bit to create more of a parking lot type area, or even like a drive-in buffer area to where they're not backing in and out on Pine Bur?
Or could the driveway be put behind the homes instead of dumping into Pine Bur?
I was gonna try to pull up the
Yeah,
site plan.
that's fine.
Yeah, so I think y'all can see my mouse, and you cannot. So if you look directly to sort of the north behind that, it drops off. There is a road that comes into the property to the left where you see the stub out on the property. There is a right of way that comes into that, but it's maybe 30 feet down, and it's significant right behind the lots where the houses will be built. So in order to do that, it's sort of an unknown, is a very, a not insignificant cost of dirt moving and engineering to be able to bridge that gap on elevation. So that's just what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I guess the point of that is pushing the footprint of those buildings back too much further makes it an unbuildable site just due to the elevation change.
So you can't build residential you don't wanna build it on the slope down. So if you start to go further back, it starts to go down.
Okay, and so that would also restrict your ability to kind of flip the design and put the driveways on the back like Councilman Ogle was suggesting?
Exactly. Yeah, that makes it difficult to put a driveway on the back when it's down on the slope down the property.
Well, there is a road behind there also.
There is, that's meant to topography-wise, that road's meant to service the old mill next door. So, and it does do a great job of that, but once you come past that mill, you're fighting literally an uphill battle to come back up the rear of that property, which get into the economics of the project and kind of dissuade a developer from doing that.
And there is this, we go into market rate projects and there's, having control of your own driveway is kind of a thing as well. So it's a feature, not a loss, as opposed to having a, common area parking, which is different.
Yeah, I think the driveway gives it, to your point, a single-family attached look versus throwing in a parking lot kind of gives it a more commercial feel and a more of apartment or like commercial feel. So that's one thing we thought about as well.
To follow up on Mr. Denver's comment, what about the aesthetics? Do you plan any type of specific tree planting or that type of thing for the condos, apartments?
Yeah, we always do a fair amount of landscaping. That's not anything that we're opposed to. That typically comes in the next step when we're working with zoning, but we have no hesitation that we'll be putting in a good amount of landscaping.
And we understand
The
landscaping is
UDO.
not a part of this process.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do
thanks.
understand that, but thank you.
I think, though, would point to that the UDO will apply, so the codes and other requirements will apply to the property, and we're not waiving any of that, so.
Okay.
Any further questions, comments from the council at this time? Attorney Swanson, is there anything else we need to do for now?
No, we'll just need to offer sir rebuttal
Okay.
for those who spoke against. They'll have, and as a group, anyone against will have an additional 5 minutes to speak collectively, okay?
Yes, sir.
As a rebuttal, I'd like for you to keep in mind, those of you who know where I live, less than 7/10 of an acre with a potential of 60 individuals living in that area. Also, think about 20 driveways showing up in that area. Also, think about safety pedestrians walking in that area. Sidewalk needs to be constructed, and there's some other things that need to be addressed. It would have been great if somehow or another this information could have been made available to the citizens in the neighborhood so that they could study it further and be prepared to cite other facts. So for whatever reason, this seems to have been something that has been held secretive. Earlier on, when the request was made for information, it wasn't available, or couldn't get it available, or we couldn't see it. So I want you to look at this and think about the openness of this hearing, and I'd like for you to consider again, size, number of people be living in such a small area. Can you imagine 60 people living on 7/10 of an acre with having 2 cars? That does not conform to the neighborhood, and that does create a difference to the neighborhood. It creates safety issues, and it does create other problems. Thank you so much.
Mr. Demeter, just for the record, since you brought up the topic of transparency, when did you request the records that you're talking about?
At-
May I just clear this up?
This is my attorney.
You not unless you're his attorney,
Yes.
His attorney.
well, then you're welcome to come to the podium.
Issue. When this first came
Can you
up-
please come to the podium?
When this first came up several months ago, Steve very kindly
Can
asked,
you state your name, please?
Crystal Davis, Steve very kindly asked for this information to be shared. Not only was he told he couldn't speak at this hearing by whoever then was the, person in charge of planning, I don't know her name.
Western Piedmont Council of Government.
He was told he could not speak. He was told he had to just present facts that had to do with, well, we've got it in writing, thank goodness. And none of the information was shared. We literally had to find Mr. Herms, who was on vacation at the
Well,
time.
Ms. Davis,
So
that,
transparency
hold on one
has
second.
been an issue, sir.
That hearing was never
With
opened.
you,
Ma'am?
with you, and today. He was told today that he would be provided a copy of the contract at 4:29. This was from your office. And then you actually said, your secretary said, he would be provided a copy of the contract at 4:29 today, while he was in this room. An email was finally sent from your office.
My question is,
So
when did he request the contract? When did he request the contract today?
He was told by this
At what time?
office earlier today.
Earlier today, after. lunch.
Afternoon?
After lunch.
Yes, or after lunch.
Okay,
He was told by the
I
town.
called the office here first.
He was told by the town they didn't have a copy,
okay.
okay, which is absolutely.
But it was
untrue.
produced.
At 4:29 when he was sitting in this
I
room.
understand. I'm not asking
At the
for,
last hearing, it took an entire week to get him documents. So I can swear under oath.
we're not asking you to
that's
swear anything.
Transparent, yes, you just did.
No, I asked you to
That
step to the podium and speak.
That transparency has been an issue by this town, by the officers who hold these positions.
Okay, so for the record, as I understand it, you requested a copy of the contract after lunch this afternoon at some time, and you received it before the hearing at some point.
Yes.
Okay.
because
At 4:29.
Thank you.
I have record of the phone call where the first initial call was made
The initial call to
to,
the town of Valdez?
Yeah.
planning here, yes.
Okay,
Mr. Welchel,
No, Daniel someone, I'm sorry.
It's Daniel, Bo Daniel.
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 all right.
At any rate, that's the second time. The first time that this hearing was scheduled, when there were written objections by Mr. Demeter, the efforts to get any information were quashed. There has been no transparency.
Okay.
We were also asked about we asked about plan unit developments. We asked about any proposals, any site plans, any, PowerPoints. None of it was given.
And you submitted those as public records request, and you were denied those records?
Finally, on the Friday before that hearing was scheduled, I think it was August 4th.
I'm sorry, is that a yes? I didn't hear the answer to the question.
I'm answering your question, Mr. Swanson.
Okay.
It may not require a yes or no answer.
Well, it's a yes or no question. Did you submit a public records request?
Finally, before the hearing on a Friday, after asking for a week, some of the information was provided. Other information, he was told that it was not accessible to the public.
Okay. If you
That
will,
it existed, but it was not accessible. I'll be happy to make those complaints in writing to you.
no, if you would make them available, that would be helpful. Thank you.
The what? The complaints?
Your request.
Received.
Yes, your request, your public records request, so I can see what you're talking
Your
about.
town has them.
Okay,
You've already got them. Talk to your client,
thank you.
okay?
You may, Mr. Ferguson.
Yes, sir.
Not to extend this further, I just would object that, I mean, I think we had a hearing about conflicts, and that seemed to be in that category and was heard, so, you know,
I
just to the
understand.
extent that was there, I'd just object to it being in the facts of the special use, and did mention, we were considering some, Mr. Ogle's question, and would address that too, if you guys are game, regarding parking.
We've got 1 minute
Yep.
left until our council meeting starts.
Okay, yeah, we do have, if you don't mind, we do have a lot of room on that site plan, so there is room for additional parking that we'd be happy to put in to the plan right, I call it plan right.
Right,
So,
right here.
yeah, so we've
So
got
don't-
additional room for parking, that's not really an issue for us as a developer to add in there. We've got ample room for it.
It would sort of agree to a friendly amendment to allow for some portion, maybe we could define it objectively in hearing, but,
And the last thing, while I have a couple seconds, the entry and exit down to Pineborough with the current usage of that road, I mean, you're talking, my attorney and I stopped and sat in front of the site today at 4:15 in the afternoon, which is a pretty high traffic area. We did not see one car coming or going the entire time, and probably had a 5-minute conversation
Not
on it.
today, school was out early.
Okay, regardless.
Call order.
Call order,
Use your
please.
gavel.
I think the traffic count allows for those type of maneuvers in and out of the property.
Yeah, so, council, couple options here. Obviously, the hearing is still open. So I don't anticipate that they can amend, nor could you really consider an amendment of that document here now in the time we have. So you have the ability, if you want, to continue the hearing, to give them time to amend. Hearing is still open, and so they could come back in and provide that additional documentation for your consideration before you actually consider and vote on this. The other option is the hearing can be closed, you can vote and make your decision today.
And I would defer to town, but I do think it may be allowed by right on the business property as is.
What's your question?
Parking may be allowed by right. I don't know
Right,
if
but
you
I
can
think
speak to
the
that,
issue goes to potential safety, is one of the issues I heard in opposition, is the parking area could create safety issues. And so I think council, and I'm not speaking for you, but you may want to see what the alternate proposal is to see if it addresses
Yeah.
potentially some of those concerns. So, Mr. Mayor, I'll turn that back over to you. Just be aware,
A lot to package.
do not close the hearing
No.
if you intend to continue that for purposes of gathering additional information.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we continue this hearing and give them a chance to make some updates to the, or how would you want me to word that?
I think that motion's fine, but I would just specify the date, so I don't know, our next meeting is,
January is it 5th?
Fifth.
okay, so perhaps 5 o'clock, January 5th.
5 o'clock, January the 5th, if that's correct.
Yeah, I'd like to second
You have a
the
second?
motion. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Motion carries.
That's it, motion, motion to adjourn.
Okay, now can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Go ahead and open that.
Aye.
Adjourned. Thank you.